This is my family, and I have two kids. My name is Josephine, and my husband Jacob, and my son is Josiah, and my daughter is Jessie. So 12 and 7. So our family were from Canada, but originally we were from Hong Kong. And we've been teaching at this school called East Asia School of Theology since 2015. So now we're living in Singapore. And that's also a reason why we're living here, and we love this place so much. And this is one of the best program I think at East is a partners in ministry program where we very intentional in equipping ministry and seminary wives to serve alongside with the husband. So even if you're interested in auditing classes, you feel free to do that. And if you're interested, please go to our website and look up for more details. And I've been teaching Bible study methods, marriage course, and facilitation skills. So this has been my area of focus. But besides that, I love using craft and creativity to reach out to women. So you can see some of the workshops. It's more creative focus because I believe that God has given us, especially women, creativity. And it's such a great way to, instead of very upfront to share the gospel, it's a fun way to reach out to other women. So this is a ministry that you're now tuning in. It's a Sister Ministry Toolbox. Basically, we offer free online workshop. They are biblical, practical, and creative, designed to help a sister to grow in the faith and also serve effective and home and in the different ministry settings. So feel free to join our Facebook group, which is SIM Toolbox. If you like and follow the Facebook page, you'll be able to get the most updated details of our workshops. And sometimes I also post some of the workshop videos and recordings. If in case you missed it, I posted there as well. So if you want to keep in touch with me, this is the information that you can follow here. All right, so last week we have talked about, start reading about Proverbs 31, and we talked about, we actually didn't spend a lot of time talking the whole passage. We were just kind of talking the first 3 verses, okay? So today we are continuing to study the 12, verse number 12. So last week we talked about our role as a wife and what's our calling, as a wife. We talk about trust and how we can be jewels to our husband. And so today we're going to be continuing to talk about how can we do good to our husband, not evil. So this is what we have talked about last session. Our calling as a wife, as a helper, submissive, virtuous, and we are companion, and we are called to be prudent. We are our husband's sparkling jewel to bring joy, life, and energy to our spouse, okay? We are to provide a safe place and to gain our husband's trust. We also have talked about how can we do good to our husband instead of evil, okay? So we actually, the next few session, which is today and next session, will be continue talking about how can we meet those physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. So sex, we talked about, is a gift from God, and we all need to have a right mindset of sex because God created this such a wonderful gift to be enjoyed within marriage, and we are called to meet that need and make it a priority. All right, so that's what we have talked about last week, okay? So if you forgot what we have talked about, we does him good and not evil all the days of her life. Now, we have kind of defined what that means by doing good, okay? Which means that we are actually good. There's a bunch of description of what is good, okay? It's pleasant, agreeable, good, right, good understanding, understanding of man's intellectual and sensuous nature, joyful, kindly, beautiful, just loving, so positive, okay? And evil, we talk about that we're not causing our husband mysteries and disagreeable or bad or unpleasant. And we talked about we sometimes not being intentional, just, being mean to our husband. But some of the things that, or body language or facial expression, sometimes we might cause some kind of unpleasant or disagreement to her husband. So we can see this woman, she does the good for her husband, is her lifelong commitments. Okay, so today I want to continue to talk about this physical intimacy, because how many of you think this topic is very embarrassing to talk about? Please raise your hand. Okay, yeah, I think all of us, we've been taught, right? Especially before you got married, right? Sex is not a good thing, and you should never have sex outside of marriage. So we've been always told that sex is not a good thing. So even though we got married, we still have this baggage in us thinking that sex is a bad thing. We shouldn't be talk about it. But you know what? In God's design, sex is actually very important in a godly and thriving marriage. Now, I love this quote. I want to show you. I want to ask Juan. Do you mind read this for me, Juan?
I believe the greatest reason Christian women have whole, dull, bored sex life is because we have a watered down vision regarding sexual intimacy. Many Christian women are visionless to the depth and grace of sexual intimacy. This is what happens when we have lost the eyes to see the grandeur, the mystery, and the deeper implication and the sacred holiness of our sexuality. I believe the greatest thing we can do is to pray for vision.
Thank you, Juan. Very good read. Okay, now let me ask all of you here. How many of you do pray for your sexual life in your prayer? Please raise your hand. Anyone? Okay. Okay. Almost no one. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So today I want to bring this up. I love this quote because this lady, I've been reading about her. I searched her up on the internet, and she has a 7-day prayer to pray for a new vision for sex. Okay. It's our new vision for this sexual intimacy as a gift before God. Because I really agree what she says here. A lot of times, even us Christian women, okay, we try not to talk about this, we try to hush this topic, okay? It's because we have lack of lack of understanding of what's the spiritual implication, the mystery of how God created sex and why God created sex within a marriage for the purpose of just to glorify him in this gift. Okay, so I hope that that's also the reason why I want to spend a little bit more time to talk about this topic, because it's something that we don't really talk about in church, and in such a way sometimes we have a wrong assumption that this is something that is bad, we should not be talking about. So this is such an important education if you're ministering to other women. I hope you can also teach them the right perspective. What is the biblical perspective on sex? Okay. And today I'm going to give you a very biblical example to follow. Okay. You'll be surprised. Okay. Some of you might know this woman already, but we might be surprised how vivid, how vivid and how bold this woman in terms of expressing her love for her husband. Okay, so I love this question: do we realize how blind we are to the spiritual dimensions of sexual intimacy? Now, I think some of us, I think most of us, are very blinded in terms of this spiritual dimensions of sexual intimacy. Okay, so remember the vision statement? Do you guys still have it? Okay, I hope that you still have this vision statement with you. As I encourage you since last session that you will have this in front of you. So as I talk and go through the workshop, you'll be able to start writing what is your visions for you yourself as a wife. Okay, as we talk about different aspects of how we can be a godly, beautiful woman in God's eyes. Okay, so I hope that you'll be able to have a piece of paper. Okay, write this down. My name, commit to fulfill my calling as a beautiful one in God's eye by. So as we go through this, I hope that you can put down your vision statements here. All right, so there are 2 books I want to recommend it to you. I think it's super awesome because I am actually been reading this on the left, the ones on the left, Intimate Issues by Linda Dillow. It's such a great book, and it talks a lot about there are a lot of questions, especially there are 21 questions for Christian women, the questions that we have, but we have nowhere to talk about, too shameful to ask the church or ask anyone. So in this book, she has a lot of very candid conversations with a lot of women. They actually interview over 1,000 women of their opinion on different questions. Okay, so if you're interested, you can look at that. The one on my right hand side is called Intended for Pleasure. Okay, this is especially good for those who are getting married because sometimes you don't even know where to start, right? If you have no So this book, it talks about sex techniques and also sexual fulfillment, how we can find sexual fulfillment in a Christian marriage. So it's a doctor who wrote it. So it's biblically and also biologically, and then because he's a doctor, right? So he explained the techniques and body structure of a person. So it's really helpful as well. All right. So this is a question for us. What help us to be a better lover to a husband? Okay. What help us to be a better lover of a husband? Okay. So in the first hour, we'll be talking about 4 different areas. Okay. 4 different areas to help us to be a better lover to our husband. Now, let me pause here for a second. Okay. So anyone have any thought? How can we be a better lover to our husband? Any thoughts? Anyone? How can we be better lover to our husband? Any thoughts? Any suggestions? Or what you observe? Other women, what would make us a better lover to our husband?
I think supportive from mine.
Okay, supportive. Okay, very good. Okay, anyone else? How about Sanavi? Sanavi, do you have any thoughts?
When I can make him feel like how he feel about himself, how I make him feel about himself. Not on how I make him feel about me, but when I can make him feel
in a positive way. In a positive way. Yes.
The opposite way. By appreciating him, admiring him, encouraging him. In that way, I think that makes them happy.
Very good. Very good. Right. Okay. Awesome. Very good. All right. So I think all of you probably have some kind of idea of how we can make ourselves to be better lover to our husband. Okay. Here are a few things similar to what you have shared earlier. But the first one I want to propose is your brain, our brain. The first one is our mind. Okay. Well, you're probably thinking, what are you talking about? A mind? Okay. You know what? Actually, one of the doctors said, Dr. Douglas Rosano, he's a Christian sex therapist and theologian. He said sex is actually 80% imagination and in a mind, and 20% fiction. Okay, which means you have the most sexual organ in your whole body is your brain. It starts from your brain. Now, what do I mean by that? It's like Proverbs 23:7 says, as a woman thinks within her, so she be. Okay, so whatever you think in your heart, okay, then you act out. Your thinking cause you to act. It lead to your actions. Okay, so our thoughts kind of determine our actions and our attitudes. Okay, so a life is what our thoughts make it. Okay, now how many of you agree this statement? Raise your hand. Yeah. Because when we think, right, we act, right? And our attitude, that affects our action and attitudes. So sometimes why we lack of the desire to have sex, right? Because we're not even thinking about it, right? Of course, we're not thinking about it. We have so much to do, right? You're so tired already. You're not even thinking about this is not on top of your list, okay? Because your mind has so much to care for your children, ministry, your house, taking care of your families. You have so much on your mind already. So this is really the last thing, is on your list, okay? So our mind, our brain, okay? Our sexual life is what our thoughts make it. So is it right and pure and holy to daydream our husband's body and store up sexual memories of your husband? Okay, this is from that book. Okay, you're probably thinking, whoa, what are you talking about here? Is this even true or biblical? Okay, is this even true or biblical? Okay, where we should fantasize in our minds, okay, preparing a mind for those sexual intimacy time before we even, talk, before we have the actions, okay? So I'm going to show you this very biblical example of this lady. Now, how many of you can think of one lady in the Bible that she is can display this kind of quality? She is godly and sensuous at the same time. She is godly, and at the same time, she expressed her love to her husband. Any guesses? Any guesses that a woman like that in the Bible? Any thoughts, suggestions?
Abraham's wife.
Okay, maybe. Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, good guess, Christy. Very good guess, very good. Okay, how about Sonia? Which one you think?
Esther.
Maybe.
I think
Esther. Esther, okay, all right, okay. Now, okay, I'm going to show you this woman today, and I hope that she'll become a model, okay? Now, let me encourage you. This is not something Josephine said, okay? It's not I said. It's what the Bible says, okay? This godly woman we're going to learn together is from the Bible and her strategy in alluring her husband, okay? So which book is that we're talking about, okay? So this is the book of Song of Solomon, okay? Song of Solomon, okay? Now, this woman is called, I try to pronounce her name correctly, okay? Shunammite, okay? She is a wife that being kind of described in the book of Solomon. Now, when was the last time you read the song? How many of you read Song of Solomon last year? Raise your hand in the past year. Anyone have read this book? Okay. Okay, some of you did. Okay. Okay, definitely. How many of you find it embarrassing to read this book? Raise your hand. Okay, all right. So we're going to look at this woman. She is Solomon's wife. Okay, as we know, this is the book that written by Solomon, and it's the relationship. It's a marital relationship, the physical intimacy, and there are a lot of places that she's very overtly expressing her sexual thoughts towards her husband. Okay, so we're going to look at her and learn from her strategy. We're going to learn from her strategy together. Okay. The first one is she is responsive. Okay. She invite her husband for for the sexual invitation to her husband. Okay. So let me ask Pom Chiu, do you mind read this for me?
She is responsive, sexual invitation to her husband. Awake, north wind, and come south wind, blow on my garden, that its fragrance may spread everywhere. Let my beloved come into his garden and taste its choice fruits.
Yes, thank you, Pam Chiu. So this is, I wish you will have time after this session that you will go back and study the book of Songs of Solomon, okay? There's a typo there. It should be Song of Solomon. Anyways, so you go back and see there are a lot of places. This is the poetic way to invitation for her husband to have sexual relationship with her. Okay, so taste the choice fruit. There are many places describing her body and as the many pomegranate and so many different, describing her physical body. Okay, so the application for us is we can also take initiative to invite her husband in this area. We don't have to wait and sometimes wait for her husband to take the initiative. Now, especially the monthly, we all know that it's a biological, right? We all know that we have a biological clock when we have ovulation, when we have more higher level estrogen, when we are ready for reproduction, right? This is how God created us. So once a month, we have a few days that we are actually really ready for this, okay? Because it's God's design for us in a body to be ready for mating and for reproduction. So we can take advantage of this, okay? Another thing is she is adventurous, okay? So in verse 11 to 13, it says, take a trip together, enjoy a private time together. And then she talks about the fragrance, seductive sight, the promise of sexual ecstasy, okay? So this is what it says here. Come, my beloved, let us go into the country. Let us spend the night in the villages. Let us rise early and go to the vineyards. Let us see whether the wine has bud and its blossom have opened, and whether the pomegranates have bloomed. There I will give you my love. The mandrakes have given forth fragrance, and over our doors are all choice fruit, both new and old, which I have saved up for you, my beloved. Okay, so you see, she openly invited her. Let's take a staycation together. Okay, let's go to a vacation together, just you and me. And I promise you, I'll give you my love. Okay, she's adventurous. Okay, she's adventurous in inviting her husband for this intimate time together. Okay, so application. Let us be adventurous. Maybe sometimes could be try a new location, try a new pose. new outfit or new perfume. Okay, so maybe something that we can learn, maybe just one thing that we can learn and adopt in our physical intimacy. She is inhabited. Ask her husband to touch her. Okay, in verse 2:6 and 4:6, let his left hand be under my arm, under my head, and his right hand embrace me. And then this verse we have talked about it. And let my beloved come into his garden, taste his choice fruit. So you can see her invitation and tell him exactly where to hold her, how I want to be hugged, how I want to be touched. So application for us. So let us also, you cannot see, sorry, that we can also tell a husband very clearly, express how we want it to be treated, how we want it to be touched in a certain way. And I let me tell you something. I think this is something that will change your relationship, especially in this area. Because sometimes I think if we're too shy, that depends on how long we've been married. Sometimes I think the longer you marry, that you'll be able to express yourself maybe in a better way, because when you first got married, you might feel shy to express in this area. So I encourage you, as you grow your relationship, this may be one area that you can discuss together as husband and wife. Okay, so I find that, of course, my earliest year, I find it's kind of shameful, embarrassing to talk about this, but I mean, as our relationship grow and we can be open in this area and talk about this. Okay. Okay. And fourth, she is expressive. Okay, how handsome you are, my beloved. My beloved is mine, I am his. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. You see how expressive she is. When it comes to even praising her husband, there are many places she would praise about her husband's physical appearance. Okay, so let us also tell our husband, like Salavi just said, right? We want to encourage our husband. Okay, and something, as I was reading it this week, I have chose to start complimenting my husband's physical appearance. Okay, and before I don't really do that. We just assume, yeah, okay. But now I've become very intentional. The day when he looked nice, he dressed nicely, I say, hey, you look good today. Okay, I think in our Asian culture, we don't really talk about this kind of thing, right? That we don't compliment each other that much about our physical appearance. But I think how we show our appreciation to our husband will also make him feel that he's loved. That you pay attention to him, that you care for him. Okay, so and then when we show appreciation of how God creates him, how God creates our husband. Okay, she is sensuous. Okay, she meditates on her husband's body in a sexual way. You're probably thinking, okay, remember earlier I told you our brain is the most sexual organ. Okay, if you see her, she always be playing her intimacy relationship, her sexual intimacy with her husband, and also meditating on her husband's physical appearance and her praises in a very poetic way. Okay, so as you can see here, this my beloved is white and ruddy, and the chiefest among the 10,000. His head is as the most fine gold. His locks are bushy and black as raven. His eyes are as the eyes of doves by the rivers of waters, washed with milk and filthy set. His cheeks are as bed of spices as sweet flowers. His lips like lilies dropping sweet smelling mirth. His hands are as gold rain set with the beryl. His belly is as bright ivory overlaid with sapphires. His legs are as pillars of marble set upon shackles of fine gold. His countenance is Lebanon, excellent as the cedars. His mouth is most sweet. Yeah, he's altogether lovely. This is my beloved. This is my friend, O daughters of Jerusalem. Wow. How many of you do this to your husband? Well, although some of the words is kind of strange for us to describe our husband, right? Raven, that would be, his lips are like lily. We don't use that, but how often do we really spend the time really appreciate our husband from head to toe, basically from head to toe? I don't think I ever done that. Okay, I'm not sure how many of us actually appreciate our husband this way, from the head to toe. The way she show her admiration, she is she see her husband through the lens of God. Okay, that's how she see her husband, like how beautiful he was created. Okay, in God's hand, how he was beautiful created. Now, if you don't know, actually, some of these words are quite erotic in a sense. The commentary in some of these places, if you read the Hebrew words, original words, some of these words, like for example, his belly is as bright as ivory overlaid with sapphires. Okay, so in the Hebrew original meaning, it's actually describing the man's private part. Okay, you talk about the erection of a penis. Okay, so it's actually very erotic how she described her husband's body. Okay, so you're probably thinking, wow, what in the world? Why the Bible say something like this, right? Why do you think God would spend, one book devoted to this? So do you think this is something that is important or not to God in God's eye? Do you think God see this as a beautiful thing? Okay, that he would spend one book to talk about this physical intimacy, this beautiful gift within marriage. Okay, so application for us, let's train our mind to meditate our husband sexually. Okay, especially before you have sex. Okay, before I just don't want to do it. Okay, this is the last thing I want to do. Okay, so try to think about this woman. Okay, this godly woman. Okay, how she describe her husband, how she enjoy the process of having this sexual intimacy, how she always have these memories of her and her husband together being intimate. Okay, so help ask God help us to train our mind. Okay, to train our mind. Okay, to really dwell on these issues. Okay, intimate moments with our husband. Okay, especially the time when we feel like, hey, this is the last thing I want to do. Okay, but remember this woman in the Bible, how she being responsive, how she being adventurous, how she being inhabited. She tell her husband exactly how she feels, how she wanted it, and how she is expressive in expressing her love to her husband. And she is sensuous. Okay, she is meditating on her husband's body and the intimate moments that they share together. Okay, so this is what we can learn from this sensuous woman. She can be godly at the same time sensuous. Okay, she's a godly woman at the same time a sensuous woman. Okay, so what helps us to be a better lover to our husband? Take a step, be expressive as a love. Take a step, try a new position. Take a step, make love in a new location. Take a step, allow your mind to dwell on your husband's body. And this is what Shimelech did. Okay, so I hope that how many of you feel still I'm not so sure. I'm really not so sure about this. Okay, and later I will give you a homework. Okay, there will be a 7 day of prayer. Okay, please pray every day. There's one prayer per day. Okay, one verse, one prayer per day, to ask God to give you a new vision in this area. Okay, to ask God to give you a new vision in this area. Okay, so if you say, oh, I'm not sure this is biblical, remember this, go back to read Song of Solomon. Okay, read this lady again, her expressions of her love for her husband. All right, so the more sexual thoughts about your husband, the more pleasurable your lovemaking. Okay, now this is very true. The more sexual thoughts about your husband, and the more pleasurable your lovemaking. Now, but I must say there are times that there are some negative thoughts kind of occupy our mind. So we can't really have all the pure and good thoughts about in this area. Okay, so here are some of the bad thoughts, negative thoughts that we need to take it out before we can enjoy this intimacy. Impure thoughts about other men. Okay, now we might be thinking only men would lust about other women. Okay, but it is true for women as well. Okay, I don't know about you. Sometimes I see a handsome person, a handsome guy, of course you want to, sometimes you watch a movie, you want to look at it, right? You want to look at the person. That doesn't mean women doesn't lust about other men. Okay, so we have to be careful about that as well. So I love, my friend told me the other time when we were at the church where the fellowship. We have a very handsome brother. Okay, he's not a boyfriend or whatever. Okay, I remember when he walks into a room, my friend said, hey, don't look at it. Don't look at him. Don't look at him. Stop looking at it. Don't look at him. He's very dangerous. So my friend told me, okay, stop looking at him. So I find that her word is very wise. Okay. I'm sure all of us are, sometimes can be fall into this temptation, or even watch a movie, unexpected scene of a naked person and man or guy, very muscular. Okay. All these will trigger our thoughts. Okay. So be careful and trying to flee, like Joseph, right? When you're trying to flee from temptation. Coarse joking or crude sexual remarks are also not good, especially towards a husband. This is very damaging. Unholy sexual images from past experience or social media, movies, or other places, magazines, those are also not good. We need to unroot those thoughts as well, images. Or our selfish attitudes towards sex, okay? We're thinking, I can withhold this power anytime I want, okay? I think a lot of women thinking, oh, I can withhold this power. I can say when I want to do it, when I don't want to do it. Okay, if you're not nice to me, okay, no way you will have a chance, okay? So we can use this as a weapon, okay? But later on, we're going to talk more about attitude, okay? Negative thoughts about your sexual relationship with your husband, maybe some hurt or trauma that you had before. Now, I want to give you 2 minutes thinking about this, what we have just talked about, so far. Okay, what are some of the negative thoughts that God is asking you to uproot? Or even just now, I've talked to you about the example of this godly and sensuous woman, Shimei. Okay, Shinamei. You might think, I don't think I'll be like her. Okay, I'm not sure about that. Okay. So ask God, okay, to help you see this woman. How can you also learn from this woman? Okay, I'll give you 2 minutes. You don't have to share with me, okay? Just yourself reflecting on this. Okay, I hope that you have a good conversation with God as well during this time, with some of the things that maybe I need to remove, especially my negative attitudes or any images that are not helpful to our sexual relationship with a husband. Okay, the next I want to talk about, so what should we put in our mind for in terms of a good sexual relationship? How can we put some of the good thoughts in our mind? Okay, some of the things that you can do is to plant positive thoughts, especially in this area. Okay, so meditate on some of the scripture. Okay, Song of Solomon and then Proverbs, as loving high and a grace though, let my breast satisfy you at all times, be accelerated always with my love His mouth is full of sweetness, and he's wholly desirable. He's beloved. He's mine. I'm my beloved. His desires for me. So remembering, meditating on these scriptures also will help us. Hey, what we're doing, the meditation is prayer to God when we having this thought toward our husband. Okay, when we have this desire for him. Also ask God to open our minds, to transform our minds, so our mind can be renewed and transformed. I love this prayer here. So if this is something that resonates with your heart, I ask that you will also spend this time to pray this prayer and ask God to give you, to help you to be a better lover to your husband. And at the same time, if you still have time, I want you to write down maybe one thing that you have learned in your vision statement, one thing that, you know what, I can do yourself to commit one thing that help me to fulfill my calling as a beautiful wife. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Okay. Well, I hope you have a good reflection up to this point, especially how we can bring our negative thoughts or negative attitudes before God and ask Him to help us to be a better lover. Okay. So the next segment I want to talk about is our attitude. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you one question. Okay. Of the following. Okay. I want to see what answer you pick. Okay. So how would you describe the following? Which one of these attitudes or one or two best describe you? Okay. Okay. So 1, sex is something I do because I have to. Okay. 2, sex is something I do because God says I have to. Okay. 3, sex is the way I can give love to my husband and minister to him. All right. Okay. How many of you say 1? Raise your hand. Okay. 1. Okay. How about 2? Number 2, very honest. Number 2. How many of you say number 2? Okay. Number 3. Number 3, anyone? Very good. Okay. Now some of you didn't raise your hand, okay? Now I want to tell you, I had all these 3 things before from a different stage of my life, okay? I have all these 3, okay? But I must tell you now, I see it as number 3, okay? But now when I first got married, 1 and 2, I often battle 1 and 2, but now I see it very differently because I have new vision. As I learn and study more on this topic, God has given me a new vision in this area. So I hope after what we talked about, you will also have this vision, okay? So our attitude, to be honest, okay, these might be some of our true feelings, okay? I'm just too busy and tired for sex, okay? Now, the best part of sex is when it's over, okay? Sex requires too much effort. Sex is the last thing I can think of in a relationship, okay? Sex is so dirty and unholy, okay? So I'm sure deep down in our heart, some of these really resonate with some of us. Okay. So what we're going to talk about in this next segment, especially we'll be spending some time talking about 1 Corinthians 7:3-5. Yami, are you there? You might read it for me. I saw you there. Yami, thank you.
Okay. The husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife, and likewise the wife to her husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but yields it to her husband. In the same way, the husband does not have the authority over his own body, but yields it to his wife. Do not deprive each other, except perhaps by mutual consent and for a time, so that you may devote yourself to prayer. Then come together again, so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control.
Thank you. So let me ask you a quick question here. What is this saying here? What's this verse is saying here? Yami, maybe you can quickly summarize what this verse is saying here. Do you mind?
That it's a marital duty, sex is a marital duty, and one should not deprive each other's need, but except for a few things like for devotion to God. And if we refrain from sex, it can be a temptation that Satan can tempt us. Yeah.
Yes, very good. Excellent. Thank you, Yami. And by the way, Yami is getting married. We're so happy for her. Okay. And she's here today learning together with us. She'll be married in a few months. So we're so excited. So I asked her, you need to come. Okay. This is part of your premarital counseling. So that's why she's here. Okay. So I'm so happy she's here. Now, let me tell you very quickly. Okay. When we talk about duty, the original word of this is actually very serious. Basically, it's a debt, okay? It's like you owe someone's money, okay? When you owe someone money, when the person who is collecting the funds, you have to give, right? You have to give. When the person who come to collect the funds, you have to give, okay? So it says very clear here that we have a privilege of getting married, okay? We got married is a privilege, okay? But the privilege also comes with responsibilities, okay? So that responsibility is like a debt, almost like a debt, okay? Our sexual intimacy, our fulfillment of marital duty. Sex is also like a body is a payment to our spouse, okay? So the first of all, the principle of needs, okay? God has created this sexual needs in men and women, okay? It's a privileged responsibility, regardless whether we think we need sex or not. I think for women, a lot of times we don't think about this, but in God's eyes, this is God's design, okay? Sexual needs is God's design, okay? So there is a need there. And as a wife, we need to fulfill that needs because it's part of our duty, okay? The principle of authority, okay? When you get married, it's like a gift exchange, okay? It's a gift exchange. So the wife will give her body to her husband as exchange and vice versa. Okay. So which also means we'll give up the rights and authority to our body to each other. Okay. So this is what the Bible is teaching here. Okay. We're giving a body authority to a husband. Okay. And the same way, our husband's body give authority to us. Okay. The principle of faithfulness. So do not deprive from one another. Okay, it's a very strong word here. It's basically, it says, do not commit fraud by taking back what have been pledged. Okay, so every time when we refuse to give, we actually cheating. Okay, we're cheating. Oh, we promised to give something. Oh, but sorry, no, I take it back. Okay, so basically, you're cheating. You pledge something, you agree to give something, but you actually taking it back. So this is a marital duty. Okay. As it says here, the only exception is when you are devoting your time to prayers, okay, then it's the exception, okay? But how many of us, okay, how many times, we actually have many other reasons besides that, right? We don't want to do it because many other reasons, not because of prayer, not because we're want to devote the time to prayer, okay? So we actually, when we actually dishonor God, when we fail to yield sexually to the authority of a spouse, okay, we actually dishonor God when we fail to yield sexually to the authority of our spouse, okay. So I just want to say, so our attitude makes a huge difference. You know what? It's a ministry to a husband. I want you to think about this. It's a ministry to a husband when we satisfy this need in him. This is my ministry to satisfy my husband, okay? And this is only the ministry, only you can do it, okay? This is a ministry that only you can minister to your husband, okay? I hope you don't, if we fail in this area, it's very dangerous, okay? He can find many other areas, and also not good for him. If he is a minister, he also struggle with that. It doesn't mean he's a minister doesn't struggle with that, okay? Because he is a man that created by God, okay? So we need to, this is a very sacred ministry that all of us as wives, only us, we can use this is our ministry to our husband, okay? And also sometimes be sensitive how we say no, because when we say no, sometimes could be quite tricky, okay? Could be seen as a rejection to our husband, okay? So when we say no, he might take it in the wrong way. That could be a rejection. So I understand there are times that you really cannot. So how can we say it? Maybe say it in a nice way, okay? This may be something you can say, oh, sorry, I have a long day. Maybe if you could help me with this and that, I'll have more energy later. Okay, that's the best time you can tell him to do things in your house. Okay, so this might be a good time to, okay, if you help the kids with this, or, you know, if we help me wash the dishes, so tell him how he can help you so that you can also be less tired in a sense, more energy, and preparing your mind, preparing yourself for this, okay? Or you can say something, today I'm really tired and stressed. How about we can do it tomorrow? When you say tomorrow, make sure you do it tomorrow, okay? So don't say tomorrow and then tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, and you'll never, then it will feel very, very rejected. Because men see this area is very sensitive. When some of the men, they connected physically, that's how they feel connected. When the wife said, okay, I just don't want to do this with you, it basically you're saying to them, I don't love you. It's almost like you're saying to him, I don't love you. So out of our love, out of our desire to seek the best for our husband, for his best interest. So what should we do? Even though when you don't want to say yes, out of love, I say yes. Even though when you want to say no, out of love, I say yes. Okay? Because next time when you're trying to say no, think about this, okay? There are times I find that it's very difficult, that you're tired, but then I remember these commitments, right? I'll deny my selfishness and respond to my husband. I will give my body as a gift. I will enjoy sex and praise God for creating this beautiful way to relate to my husband. I will minister to my husband and think of his needs rather than my own need. Remember, we've been studying this verse in Proverbs 31:12. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. She think about the best interest for the husband. What is the best interest for your husband? Okay. So when we try to say no, okay, we have to remember, okay, I'm in debt to him. This is my ministry to him. And I promise God that I will commit myself, my body is, under his authority. Okay. So I understand there are times that it's tough, that are difficult, then there may be conversation that need to happen between you and your husband. Okay. But if we try to use this as a weapon, okay, as a weapon to punish our husband, this is totally not biblical at all. Okay. Or because of our selfishness, because I don't want to do it. Okay. I just don't want to. No, it doesn't mean that you always, you never get irritated by your husband. Okay. I'm sure all that with their days we feel we don't even want to be in the same room as a husband. We got very irritated. But remember our commitment before God and our ministry before God and how God commanded to us, and God honors our effort. Okay. So this is a prayer for us to remember, okay, how can we have the right attitude, especially in the sexual area? Okay, I want to give you 2 minutes to think about what I've just talked about. And I want you to make this prayer to God if this is something that, also resonate in your heart, your attitude. Let me pray for us. God, I just pray that what we've been learning in the Bible, what you talk about, sexual intimacy, and Father, just help us to be the lover that you have called us to be for our husband. Sometimes there are a lot of lies in our head, kind of distorted what you have made beautiful. And the world has made it so dirty and so corrupted that we also sometimes affected how we show relationship with a husband. But today, and we pray that God, you give us a new vision for all our relationship in this area, that we'll see as such a beautiful gift that we can enjoy and unwrap together with our husband. Help us to be better lover and creative lover. And thank you for this time. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right. Before we go on a break, I want to say I cannot tell you how I have changed my perspective. What a beautiful gift that we can enjoy within marriage when we can enjoy it with God's strength and perspective. And there are times I feel like, wow, God, you're so amazing. You create this gift that is so smart and so beautiful and so pleasurable for a married couple. And to be honest, sometimes I feel like, wow, God, you're so amazing. I want to praise you for how you have created this. And you know what? We connected to our husband, not just spiritually, but also physically, emotionally, missionally, intellectually, and socially. There are lots of areas where we need to connect it with our husband. So we need to learn all these different areas. How can we truly connect it with our spouse? Physically, emotionally, spiritually, missionally, intellectually, and socially. Okay, there's all spectrum. Okay, so we especially for us, we are godly women, right? So all we talk about is just spiritually. But in God's eyes, actually, our physical leads to our spiritual, our emotional leads to our spiritual. Okay, so anything we do, all the holistic, when we look about the holistic ways of our marriage, okay, is more than just one area. More questions, comment before we move on? Okay. Okay, if not, so let me quickly continue what we left off. I took longer time to develop this segment, especially on physical intimacy, because I think a lot of times churches may not be spending a lot of time on this matter. So allow me, if you have find that I spend too much time talking about this, but I think a lot of time we don't have a lot of teaching on this. So I've been studying on this matter because I think it's so crucial in a marriage, because a lot of time we talk about spiritually, emotionally, we listen, we have a lot of, a lot more talking or teaching on that, but not so much on physical intimacy. Okay, so the third part that I want to talk about, the first one we talked about, my brain. Okay, remember our brain is the most sexual organ, right? When we think, what we think make us, we do kind of cause our action, right? Our thoughts cause our actions, prompted us to act, okay, and our attitude. Okay, so our brain is is the most sexual organ, because when we start thinking, meditating, and then it kind of causes our action. And then secondly, we've talked about just now, we finished that we have talked about, what was the second one again? Anyone remember what we just talked about? Our brain and then our attitude, okay? The second one is our attitude, okay? And then third, we talk about our body, okay? Now, this is very realistic, okay? You can't really have be a good lover if you're tired all the time, if your health is not good, if you don't have good energy, okay? It just won't work, because you just lack a desire even to, stay awake, okay? This is very important. And I find that how we exercise really affect the way your energy level, okay? So if you fail to take care of your body, exercise, taking care of your body, it's very hard to feel sexual or or even think about sexual intimacy with your husband. Okay, it's very realistic. Okay, and I find that before, when I first got married, I didn't really exercise. Right, I was younger, I didn't really care. So, but as I grew older, I find that after 35 years old, your energy level started to drop. Okay, and you feel tired all the time. You're not into this. But I find that once I start exercising, It changed my appetite in this area, okay? And also give me energy in this area. So commit yourself maybe 2 to 3 times a week. Exercise also good for your body, for your health, just for your whole being. Okay, so this may be one area you need to look at. Another thing that we might be, sometimes some of us might feel that, oh, I'm so fat, you know, I might look at the mirror if we compare it to the social media and we don't have a good self body image. Okay, when we look at the mirror, we're thinking, okay, I'm not skinny enough, I'm not young enough, I'm not beautiful enough. But I want you to remember this. This verse always reminded me, I'll give thanks to you, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well. Okay, Psalm 139:14. I think we have to be realistic. When we were younger, we were in certain size, right? I still remember always thinking, oh, I can go back to size 0, size 2. Okay, it will never happen again because we marry, we have children, you know, we are aged. Okay, and I'm so thankful. My husband is so encouraging. He always say, hey, you look great just the way you are now. Okay, you don't have to go back to size 0 or size 2. Actually, men doesn't like people too skinny, like too skinny. Okay, so your husband loves you just the way you are. Okay. So you're doubting yourself, okay, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not skinny enough, I'm not young enough. Once you look at the mirror, ask God to open your eyes. Ask God to open your eyes to see you are beautifully and wonderfully made in His image. Okay. If you're doubting your body, you're doubting your own body image, I ask that you will pray and stand in front of God, okay? When I read this book, the lady actually, her husband told her, you know, she was doubting her body image, right? She said, oh, don't look at me, I'm so fat now, you know. And her husband told her, okay, you stand in front of the mirror by yourself and naked, not dressed, and okay, no clothes, okay, just look at the mirror. And I want you to meditate on this verse, okay, and thinking how God has created you. From your head to toe, thank Him for how He has created you, okay. Care for our body in a healthy way. I think healthy diet, we just talk about wholesome food, is also a way to honor God's temple and a gift to our husband. So taking care of your body, okay, is very, very important. Okay, not that we obsessed about, you know, wow, you know, going on a diet and all that, but we need to be healthy and strong with energy so that we can be a good lover. Otherwise, we're just too tired to even think about anything. Okay. Sometimes occasionally dress up nicely, okay, occasionally, okay? So it could be like a new girlfriend to your husband, okay? A new, wow. It's like he also feel, wow, you changed. Today you look different, okay? So we're not talking about obsessions, okay? But once in a while, okay, dress up a little bit so that your husband also feel, wow, you look different, okay? Okay, so the next one I want to talk about is our creativity. Now, how many of you have young children? Please raise your hand. Like under 10? Okay, all right, okay. I love this quote here. Sex makes little kids and kids make little sex. Okay, sex makes little kids and kids make little sex. So what is saying here, once you become a mom, you know, your sexual relationship also, you know, almost disappear, okay? So as wife, we also have to take some planning and initiative. Now, I was surprised when I was reading the book on that sexual intimacy, you know, the book I showed you earlier. She has the author interviewed how many women? 1,000 women. And she was just telling, like, some of the moms have 7 children. 7 children, okay? 7 kids, okay? And they still share their priority in making this happen. And the kids are still very young, okay? And some moms, like 5 kids, they all under preschool, under 5, okay? I don't know how she managed it, but she still make it happen. Now, these are some of the tips that this author gave based on what these women gives, okay? So I don't think any of us have 7 children, right? Any of us have 7 children? No. So we cannot say, okay, we cannot do it, okay? If they can do it, okay, God give them the wisdom and power to do it. We can also do it. Okay, here's some of the women, that's how they give their advice. First of all, make it a priority. Schedule it. Conserve your energy. Last time we also talked about, okay, take a nap, drink some coffee, you know, if this is the night. that you know you will have this and you prepare yourself mentally. Okay. Train up your children sleep early. Okay. I think this is very important for any marital relationship that when children sleep late, okay, it's very hard for a marriage. When children sleep too late, it's very hard for marriage. Why I say that? Because when they sleep like 10, 11, or when they go to bed the same time as you go to bed, you basically have no time, zero time with your husband, no time, okay? Which also means you cut down your conversation time with your husband, cut down your intimacy time with your husband, cut down any wind down time, marriage, time with your husband, okay? So it's not good that children are sleeping too late. I know sometimes some parents have to work very late and they can't be home until very late. But I would say, like, make a habit of train up the children to sleep earlier. Okay, that's what we've been doing since our kids are babies. We've been training them to sleep before 8 o'clock. Okay, even though now my son is 12, he refused to sleep at 8. Okay, because he's 12 already, and he been telling us, okay, all his friends are sleeping at 10, 11. But we still send him to his room at 8 o'clock. But he can still, read a book or something if he cannot sleep. But he must go to his room at 8 o'clock, okay? So send your children to sleep earlier if you can. Reclaim your bedroom for sex, okay? So it's very hard to have sex when your kids are around in the room. It's very embarrassing, right? It's just very hard and difficult. So if possible, trying to group your children, kind of put them away from your bedroom. I know culturally is some culture, all the whole family sleep together in one room. Okay. But I think impossible, it's actually good to have some kind of boundaries with our children. Okay. So that to preserve our marriage together. Okay. So that we have quiet time with our husband, the time that is just private for you and your husband. Okay, home dates, okay? Maybe after your kids are in bed, you can have some home dates, okay? A sex date or a date that just, that just for you and your husband when the kids are in bed, okay? So it's important if they're in their room, then you can do other things like bubble bath, massage, wrap yourself as a gift. So think about creative way that you could do at home, okay? Quickies, okay? Do you know what quickies is? Anyone know? Okay, basically it's a quick sex, okay? It's an American term. It's a quick sex, okay? So I love how these mom talks about, they share the testimony where this mom shares, they have 3 kids, all preschooler, okay? So one time she just had her children put the TV on, okay? And she tell her husband, okay, hey, Peter, there's a leak in the bathroom. Can you come fix it? Okay. So her husband went up to the bathroom and he fixed it. He's not fixing it. Once he got into the bathroom, his wife stopped, taking off his shirt, have this, very quick sex with him. But her point is, even though she didn't feel very comfortable, doing it in the bathroom, in the sink, but the point is she make it a priority. Okay. Even though she had young children, sometimes maybe 15, 20 minutes is okay. You just lock yourself in the room, okay? It might not have to be an hour, okay, if you're very busy, okay? But the point is she make it as a priority. And I just laughed so hard when I looked at that. And she said every time now when she say, oh, Peter, there's a leak in the bathroom, he would just went up so quickly. So it's the clue, it's the sign, it's a hint, okay? So I don't know, you can create something with your husband. If you have young children at home, maybe something that you can say, oh, you know what, hey, there's something wrong in the bathroom, come fix it, okay? That might be your clue. A quick hint, lock the door, put a TV on for your kids for 15, 20 minutes, okay? Or set up play dates for your kids so that they will be away from your home, and so you can have time alone with your husband, okay? Or wait until to take a nap, so okay, take advantage of those time as well. Or plan a anniversary overnight if possible, okay? So here are some of the quick tips from these moms, okay? These are the tips from these moms that have 7 kids, 5 kids, okay? When they have young children, okay? But I just love how they see this as a priority in their life by ministering to the husband in the midst of, even if they have young kids, okay, they will still see this as a priority. All right, so you're probably thinking, okay, so we talk a lot about freedom, in sex, how God created this gift that we should enjoy. So there's something that we need to pay attention to, what the Bible say no to, especially in this area. Okay, there's some very important things that we need to know what is not allowed in the Bible. Okay, so we know all this, probably adultery. Okay, because we know so well that adultery is discussed by God as a sin, and so it's prohibited by God. Okay, so it's only allowed for marriage couple to have sex. Okay, sexual relationship only allowed within a marriage couple. Pornography also ties with adultery. Basically, if you watch pornography or read pornography, you bring someone else into your marriage. Okay, so no, is porn okay in a marriage? No, because it's very clear you are also lusting other people. Okay, when you're looking at those images. Okay, fornication, the sex is outside of marriage, definitely not, because it's basically is prohibited, and the incest and the different type of kind of absurdity in the sexual behavior. So no brainer, all these are not allowed in the Bible. So how do I know what is allowed in the Bible? Okay, let me give you a few questions. Okay, what can I have this freedom? I will have this freedom, but how do I know whether it is okay or not? Okay, the first question you ask, something that you do together, is it strictly forbidden in the Bible? Did the Bible say very clearly that you cannot do it? If yes, the Bible say you cannot do it, then don't do it. But it doesn't say it, then you can keep on doing it, no problem. Is it physically safe what you're doing? Is it safe for you and your husband? Okay, are you hurting each other? Okay, if the answer is yes, of course you shouldn't be doing this. But if it's not, then go ahead and do it. Okay, does it harm your relationship? Okay, of course, if yes, of course you don't do it, but no, you can. Okay, do you both agree to do this? Okay, if yes, you go ahead. If no, no. Okay, does it draw you closer together? Okay, if the question is yes, yeah, you can do it. If no, then don't do it. Okay, so I will give you all these notes. Okay, so sometimes you're doubting, hey, should I do it or not do it? Okay, so I think the bottom line is this biblical? Is this helping my relationship? Is this safe? Okay, for us? Do we both agree on this? Okay, so is this harmful to my relationship? Okay, so I hope I'll give you a few questions that you can ask. So what can I do? What can I not do? Okay, so these are some of the quick, maybe some guidelines to help us to determine whether we can do this. Positions, can we try this new outfit? Can we try this new place? Okay, if any of these, it really doesn't matter. So you can do it. You can have freedom to do this. Okay, and of course, it's not one of these areas where the Bible talks about very explicitly. The Bible is not allowed. All right, so we have talked about how can I be a better lover to my husband. So today we talk about 4 things. Our brain, okay, sexual thoughts about husband like Shunammite, okay, we learned so much from her. Please go back to read it again if you're doubting, hey, I'm not so sure, okay. You know what, I actually read her whole Song of Solomon as my devotion for the whole week. I want to see what kind of strategy that she has with her husband. Okay, I want to learn from this woman. How can she be expressive in this area? So you can also use it as your devotion. Okay, do some study on it. Okay, secondly, our attitude. So out of my love that I will serve my husband, this is my ministry to him. Okay, my body, I need to take care of my body. Okay, my creativity, I will make it a priority to serve my husband this way. Okay, so what is one thing that you have learned from this segment? So let me give you 1 minute to write it down in your vision statement. Okay, which one of these areas or all of these areas that you want to include in your vision statement as your calling to be God's beautiful wife, especially in the physical intimacy area. Okay, I give you a few 30 seconds, so 30 to 50 seconds. All right. So I'm going to give all of you homework for this week. Okay. So ask yourself, hey, when was the last time you had sex with your husband? Okay. Maybe this week you be intentional, be creative, take the initiative. Okay. Remember our ministry to a husband. Okay. So I invite you to do this homework. Okay. Also want you to ask your husband, how can I satisfy your physical needs? Okay. Whether your personal space, rest, and sex, how frequent or preferences. So you can discuss with your husband, okay? Take turns, okay? Take turns. You ask him first, and then he say it, and also you also share, okay? What are some areas I can improve to be a better wife? That was from our last time that we talked about home, children, money, faithfulness, decision, speech, temper, respect. Okay, so these are some of the two questions I want you to ask your husband, discuss with your husband. But for yourself, I will send you the 7-day prayer sheet to pray for a vision for your sexual intimacy. So there are more prayers that you can pray each day to ask God for this vision. Okay, and you can also consider reading Song of Solomon this week as your devotion and ask God to give you a vision for your sexual relationship with your husband. Maybe you want to pick 2 to 3 verses from Song of Solomon to memorize them. All right. So this is your homework. I'll remind you again at the end so you will not forget. Okay. So I hope that this week, I pray as you open this gift with your husband, you will have a new perspective that prompts you to praise God. I prompt you to praise God, like how beautiful this gift is. And I cannot tell you how many times I just say, God, this is so beautiful. And I thank you for this relationship that I can have with my husband. This is such a wonderful gift that we can enjoy it so intimately that because of this gift that affects all areas of our intimacy.